You want to go nuts, ladies and gentlemen? You want some anarchy? Well, be prepared. Because right now, our guest, when you think about the state of hardcore wrestling, deathmatch wrestling, has been in the epicenter of it, especially over the last several months, where he holds not one, but two championships in a few different promotions we're going to talk about. But before we get there, we have to talk about two companies that we've done a lot of great work with over the past few months. And he's going to be there coming up on January the 6th in the TF Crew North Haven Massacre. And then on January the 27th, Lockdown, Cage of Hell. We'll even see if two of his opponents will even survive before that, and especially one of them, who he has a long-standing history with. Our guest needs no further introduction, but because he defies pro wrestling, he brings more anarchy than war, and he's the reigning, defending UWF Underground Champion and the GTS International Champion. He has to get that introduction that so many people get, and even Jimmy Controversy has gotten his longtime nemesis. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one. Sports Show, the reigning, defending UWF Underground Champion and the GTS International Champion. They call him Mikey.
Wow.
The double champ is here.
Damn right, baby. First of all, wow, what an intro. I got to start bringing you to shows as my personal ring announcer. Oh, my God.
Well, certainly at this point, stay tuned. You never know at this point. Obviously,
Exactly.
I'm certainly making my name out there. And
damn right, you and me both.
The past few months. But first of all, we're going to definitely get to you. And what an honor it is to have you, because you've really been, as I said in my intro, the epicenter of what's going on in the world of hardcore deathmatch wrestling. And we'll get to some of that, but I want to talk about, especially for our friends over in the TF Crew, because you're going to be there in almost our neck of the woods here back home in the North Haven Massacre. They're coming up this Saturday. You're going to be in a hardcore hoss fight against Brax. And, you know, Mikey, it was almost like you were, in a way, I almost want to say respectful toward Brax. It was still in your own twist. But I have to ask you, especially because now we're less than 100 hours away from what we are going to see, the first ever TF Crew live indoor event. For those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters, Mikey Anarchy, tell us what we can expect in your match upcoming against Brax in the TF Crew North Haven Massacre.
Oh, first off, I got to give Brax all the credit he deserves, man, because let's be real here. It takes a sick fuck to look at a guy like me and goes, no, I want him. I want him. It's honestly, there's no other words I can put other than it's probably the biggest match I'm going to have in a long time, because Brax he's not a joke. He's not someone that you can take lightly. He is one of those guys where he's up and coming himself. You know, he's making his name in the independent scene. He's most known in H2O wrestling. You never know. You just never know what could happen. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do every damn thing possible. Because quite frankly, while I respect the hell out of Brax, he's coming to my territory. He's coming to my ring. So, Brax, good dude. All the respect in the world, but I gotta have this. This is my chance to not only prove to people who still don't want to give me a chance. I'm going to prove it not only to you, to the doubters, but I'm also going to do it because guess what else? I don't just want to have 2 titles. Hell, there's another title that I'm still trying to take back, and that's the TF Crew YouTube
I heard
Championship.
you mention that, champ, in your promo, and obviously that was kind of a dig at Angel Santiago, the Puerto Rican prince there, and obviously he's going to be in the ring against a man you know extremely well in Obey coming up. And
Yeah.
I was wondering there, I mean, do you have a preference there? Does it matter to you who comes out of that between Angel and Obey? Obey was here, and he actually brought out a gun toward the end of the show. I mean, it was certainly lively to say the least. And I mean, I'm wondering, obviously I know you focused on Brax, so I'm going to come back to him in a second. But I mean, do you have like any preference there? Who comes out of that?
Again, you know what? Both guys. I've yet to step in the ring with Angel. I've watched as he took that championship from the previous champion, Donnie Max.
Yes,
and honest
we
to
spoke
God,
about that. Yeah.
Honest to God, Angel's one of those guys where I first looked at him and I heard his name and I go, who the fuck is this? This fucking wannabe yard tard fuck. He's proved himself. He's proved himself.
Well, you got fans out there that are like, say, Angel Santiago, why give this guy as much attention as you give him? Because obviously I know his background's different than yours in a way. And he's only
but at the same time,
he's a new guy compared to you.
At the same time, I was once that new guy. I was once that guy that no one wanted to give an opportunity to. And Angel, he's doing the thing I'm doing. He's taking it by force. All respect to Angel, but I know what Obey's capable of. I had to literally hang this man over the ropes with a chain, and he still fought with every ounce of breath that he had left in that damn cemented body of his. At the end of the day, I don't care who's going to win. I don't care. It can be Angel, it can be that fake prince, or it can be that actual monster. Because quite frankly, Angel has a lot of things he's going to have to work for.
So you think, obviously, well, I'm sure, maybe Jimmy or Angel's coming out there at the door, but, obviously, I mean, Angel's got his work cut out for him, and he really hasn't been in a match like this with a man I really want to come back to Braxton in a second, but a man that really well and Obey, and he's kind of also, in a way, he's new on the scene, but he's now become in your league, and he's now become almost a peer of yours more than less, sir.
Honestly, I look at a guy like Obey, and I think, wow, he's a crazy son of a bitch. And when I go and look at him across the ring, I'm like, all right, you're gonna give me a fight, but let me throw a little twist in there. What happens when 2 monsters decide we both want the same thing? We both want destruction, and we want to take on the world. What do you think could happen then?
I'll tell you what I think first. I'll tell you what I think, that the world might be coming to an end. If the two of you clash, you know what? I've heard a lot over these past several months. I've even heard a lot the past few days with all these different people, blah, 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 blah. But if you and, let's say, Obey were to clash for that TF Crew YouTube championship, you know what, Mikey? Maybe Obey might really have to bring a gun out there, because the only way he's going to be able to knock you down is maybe with a gun, because I even saw you use barbed wires but almost looking like pizza cutters, and I saw you use objects in the past like the mailbox. I've seen you use, at the last show, you dug in axes, you're ducking them and digging them out of the way. So you know what? I will say this. Some people say 2024, maybe the world comes to an end. If Obey defeats Angel Santiago, I'll tell you this much, it very well will come to an end. If you and him go off in that ring in the TF Crew for that YouTube championship.
Listen, Obey and I have crossed paths once. He stepped up to try to take what I held at the time, which was the Uncivilized Championship. And he almost got me at one point. He put me through knives. We put each other through saws and razor blades. Like I said, I had to hang him over the ropes with a chain, and he still kept fighting. I know what that man's capable of. He's beaten me and I've beaten him. So what happens when we want to settle the score?
The rubber match. It's the rubber. It's the classic rubber match where that means anything can happen.
Scorched earth.
Let me ask you a hypothetical, and I do want to come back to much. I got tons of comments. I want to say hello to everybody a second, but you talk about Obey. You talk about the potential of a rubber match. You talk about the history. You talk about the two monsters. The world would end figuratively and literally if you guys go back out there again. But do you think there's a way, maybe with Angel Santiago having Syndicate in his side and Obey in the way, could he maybe look past Angel Santiago? Angel Santiago, he presents a different style. He presents a different background. And he's a kind of guy that Obey's not used to seeing in the ring. Do you think after what you're saying potentially here, Sir Champ, that maybe there's a way that Obey kind of looks past Angel Santiago and maybe you wind up getting Angel Santiago instead?
I always say anything's possible. Hell, yeah. I never thought I'd be in a wrestling ring until later in my life, and look where I'm at now. So I always am a very open-minded guy. I don't care who it is. I don't care where it is, when it is. You want to fight? Let's fight. It can be Angel, which quite frankly, he's gonna have to pull out some secrets that even I don't know about in order to survive. Because that's how it is. Angel's not gonna win. He's gonna have to survive. And if he survives, good for you. You tried one monster. But what happens when the bigger monster decides to come and fight?
That's certainly. You know what? That's an interesting question. Let me get to a number of people. I want to say hello to our co-owner and general manager, Joseph Tibbs, who pretty much announced you coming on here. You came on the show a couple of weeks ago in kind of your debut, and I'm going to get to Resurrection in a little while. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to Resurrection, because you're going to be a huge part of that. Yes, I want to say hello to this individual who says, who's this OAF with the fake belts there?
Oh, my God. That is one of my closest friends and one of my biggest supporters in the world. He's been there since day one. That's my boy Marks. Shout out to him. Shout out to any passion project he's got going on in his life, because he's honestly one of the few guys I can genuinely say that will be there and have my back through and through. I love that man. He changed my life. It was because of him that I met the guy who brought me into UWF and kickstarted my whole career. So Marks, you big fat oaf. You want to talk about my fake belts? Well, guess what, buddy? And this is an inside joke. I'm going to get your sister's box. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well, let me ask you a slight detour on that. When it's people like Mark that inspire you and people like Mark that gave you and got you this opportunity to be in this sport that we all love, and we always say all wrestling matters here on Sportswire. Does that motivate you each and every time you're out there in that ring to go out there and the people that, because again, your story is going to be different than some other people that come on. There's other people here. Oh, my family was in this sport, and I trained with this famous guy, and I did 6 years in a school, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But you obviously have a more unique story than somebody else. So, does it where people like Mark kind of motivate you to go out there and maybe, do and top what you do each and every time you're out there, champ?
Absolutely. See, the thing is I've always wanted to be a wrestler. This has always been my path, no matter what. Even like in high school and middle school, I was always the wrestling kid. I always was watching CZW, where it was Jun Kasai and Masada, which actually got me like the biggest interest in deathmatch wrestling. It was a specific moment where Masada gave Jun Kasai a drop toe hold into a gusset plate board, and Masada looked at Kasai, who's looking at him covered in blood, and Kasai literally, fuck you, and gives him a DDT, and they keep fighting, despite the fact that man should probably go to a hospital. That's when I was like, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. And then I meet guys like Marks, and a big shout out to Mike Fatality, the owner of UWF. He gave me the first opportunity.
I know he was a man that, about, was it 4 or 5 years ago, that gave you that opportunity to step in this sport. He's a man that you've obviously also wrestled as well.
He's legitimately the number one guy that I can honestly say, if I didn't have him, not just because he owns UWF, but he brought me under his wing when he did not have to. He brought me, Max Adams, up, two guys who just, we said we wanted to do this, and guess what? He said, all right, kid, we're going to prove yourself. And how does he make me prove myself? Punches me in the face repeatedly with glass on his fists and stabbing me with all sorts of weapons like puffer fish and deer antlers, because that's just
How'd the glass taste, by the way? I was wondering how the glass tastes.
It's glass tastes like candy. Light tube glass tastes like candy.
Really?
The mercury is very sweet. It's disturbing.
Well, consider, real quick, and people are going to say, wow, Tom, you really changed the last couple of days. But actually, I'm going to say something that's going to actually shock you. Well, if people really thought about what they ate in probably like 80% of their foods, they probably taste the same thing anyway. Duh. I mean, think about all the things. Think about it, right? I mean, obviously, most people eat different things. And I'm not going to go on a rant and tell people what they shouldn't eat. It's never been my style, especially of late on Sportzwire. But the fact of the matter is, listen, you eat foods that ultimately, I'm sure, are processed and have the same materials that you had in Glass Champ.
Hey, I'm not one to talk about what people want to do and people
absolutely
don't want to do.
It was more to make light in the mood, because obviously people are going to watch your matches. Hardcore's got a syringe in his mouth, and you're diving with axes, and we see the barb cutter, barbed wire with the pizza cutter, and we see all the different things you've used, and the thumbtacks and everything. Everybody falling on glass and whatever else. Refrigerators, fans. I mean, Mickey Mouse for all we know. But the fact is, at the end of the day, people, they're going to have things that they don't. But I have so many people that want to talk to you. And by the way, for those that are listening and watching, in the description, I'm actually trying to get the photo on the screen, but I put actually in the right-hand corner, if you want to see actually Mr. Mikey Anarchy in the ring, TF Crew North Haven Massacre. It's actually, the photo is in our logo. So make sure you go out there and see Brax. You can follow the TF Crew on Instagram, TF Crew. Also YouTube, TF Crew 69, and they're in Meriden, Connecticut. The North Haven Massacre in Connecticut is a special place in my heart, because actually for a summer I had lived in Greenwich, Connecticut with my uncle. So Connecticut is a place that we love. Yeah, well, I might be certainly, maybe I could buy the TF Crew. If Gabe goes under and if he's looking for a new owner, I certainly could buy the company. We'll even go further. If Jimmy's having financial problems with Pro Wrestling Venom, I could be the man actually to buy the company, because literally I probably could afford the company. Well, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna definitely get. I don't want to go too much on Jimmy yet, because I really want to go back to back. I have so many comments here. Let me get to them, and I want to say hello to my buddy, the birthday boy. Skulls the Soul Hunter, a big GTS fan. He's actually spoke to me a lot about GTS. Happy birthday to Skull. Skull's one of my biggest supporters. Also, Mr. Tibbs says, not fake. No, what you do to your body is definitely not fake. I would also say the old adage is, don't try this at home. But obviously, yes, there we go. Listen, I wasn't going to doubt it. I've watched you in the ring. I could definitely tell. Listen, and I'll say this. I think you have more cuts on your back than Hardcore did when Hardcore came on the show. So, yeah.
Oh, Hardcore's a good dude.
I'm going to get to him.
I'm going to get with a shirt on most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm going to get to him. I know. That's a Fugazi UWF belt. This chump never wrestled for the UWF.
Shut up, Marks. You son of a bitch, Marks.
Well, I mean, I want to say hello to my buddy Joe, who says here, whose wife went into labor actually on my show the other day. Mikey, question for you: if you could be with GTS instead of Jimmy's wrestling show and end Jimmy, would you turn on Jimmy for GTS to? Well, I didn't want to go into this yet, but because he put a comment, his wife just gave birth. I'm going to let him speak, but I want to,
of course,
because Gabe is a very good friend of mine. Gabe,
yes,
I want to talk a lot more on Gabe first.
I'll just say it like this. I work for both guys. I don't work for Jimmy, actually. I work for Dirty Ron, the co-COO.
Yes, that's why I was like, I didn't want to talk about this yet, but
the thing is Pro Wrestling Venom has two things I want. I want the Venom Championship, and I want my Uncivilized Championship back. And until I get both of those things, I'm going to be a thorn in Jimmy's side and anybody that gets in my damn way. And as far as GTS goes, of course I'm going to pick GTS over Venom any day of the week. GTS is literally the number 7 most watched YouTube channel in the entire world.
I was going to get to that also. I really was, but I really feel like I've got to promote my friends first. I can get to that. We're going to get to that. I promise. I know, because everybody, it's the big topic on social media that we're going to get to that. Thank you, Joe. Hang out first. We have things that we need to talk about first.
Yes, of
Don't stop
course.
believing. I don't think Mikey's never stopped believing because have you seen this
God,
man?
no.
Skulls, you've watched him. I've watched him. The world has watched him. I want to say hello to my buddy Ron Franklin out there from Pennsylvania. Ron, how you doing? UWF taking over. How you doing there? I think I know who you
Bucky.
are.
Oh, Bucky.
Now,
That's one of my other boys, Bucky.
yeah, how you
Another
doing,
big
Bucky?
fan.
How
Another
you
big
doing,
guy
Bucky?
who
And I
supports.
actually have to bring up somebody else, which I'm going to get to when it comes to Resurrection Wrestling. A man you actually know pretty well. You probably know who this guy is. Yeah, you know him, right? I don't have to say who he is because I'm going to talk about him in about, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes. So I'm going to talk about him for sure.
Trust
I
me,
promise.
we'll get to him.
I'm going to get to people. There's a lot of people that want to talk to you with a lot to talk about. I don't know what this is, but I'm going to
Listen,
out there and leave it there.
My boy Marks is just being a dingleberry. Ignore him.
Listen, it's all good. And if you're out there on Sportzwire Radio for the first time, you're joining us, give me a sub on YouTube at Sportzwire Radio 6570. I want to thank everybody that's come along to Sportswire the last couple days for good or worse. And obviously, I'm getting to my 5-year anniversary on January 25th, and I can't thank everybody enough for all support. Especially, I want to thank Gabe Sayers and Joseph Tibbs because those two guys have been, great friends, great champions. Gabe, he took a chance on me about 3 months ago through Omen Black and Soldier GP. So I really, Gabe, you're out there. Thank you for your support. And I got your back. Anything I can do for you and your company, I'm here. You definitely came a long way because you're definitely that's why I wanted you now because I feel like in 6 months from now when you're probably like in GCW or somewhere else, I'm gonna like probably not know you. So let me get you now while I can get you. So here's a funny one here. Only thing Mikey's taking on is a $20 McDonald's order. I got this for you. A $20 for McDonald's would not cover you as much as it used to be. Because I can tell you, it's $20 for McDonald's. Listen, I went to Burger King the other day. If 2 burgers, fries, and a Coke covers about $14. So if you do the math realistically at McDonald's, maybe you get a Whopper, maybe you get one more burger, you get large fries and a large Coke, and that's going to come out to like $17. So the $20 order, that's not going to cover what it used to be. So thank you though for that lesson, and we'll do that. I've only seen him use well, you know what? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I got to get to somebody that's also a friend of mine, very, very big supporter of mine.
Bucky, I can't stand my boys. Oh my God.
We love you boys. We want you boys here. One of my boys is here. One of my favorites out there in Versus the World Wrestling and DBW. He's going into my Hall of Fame in a couple weeks. His name is Chase Wakefield. He used to be the Bitcoin billionaire. He is best friends, quote unquote, with the VTW World Champion Aaron Jones, who was just hobnobbing with Bobby Fish last week. He says, I'm a big fan of Anarchy. I would love to come to the UWF in the future. So whoever may be out there, Mr. Fatality, if you want somebody that can go in the ring, you want somebody that's local. He's also a Pennsylvania guy. He's not too far in the area. He's got a wealth of knowledge. He's established himself in a short amount of time. It would be Chase Wakefield. This would be a guy I would definitely put him out there in the ring. He just wrestled this past year over just about 50 matches, if I'm not mistaken. He's also in Kings and Queens magazine, which is kind of like the Pro Wrestling Illustrated for all of like the underground wrestlers out there, all the different companies out there. Chase, check him out. He's awesome. He's the man. This individual, I'm going to get to him. I'm going to get to you, Mac 10. He found out some information. I'm going to get to that information. I promise you. I want to say hello to the IMF. The IMF guys have a show coming up, which we're going to be promoting, I believe, next Friday called New Year's Vengeance. It's going to take place in a 400-seat venue in Powell, Iowa. And maybe they can book you. Maybe they can find a way to book you because there's a guy, Omen Black, on there. Just put real quick on this site detour. Omen Black, he's called himself the boogeyman of the Midwest. He's called himself a hardcore god. And he was just in his own death match. And he's gone out there and he's basically ran down a number of different people on Sportswire. And I was trying to tell him that, maybe he should try to step up to you in the ring one day. But Mr. Black was actually very humble toward how kind of like you were humble toward Brax. And it was rather, I guess, a different tone of Mr. Black. Maybe he respects you. Maybe he even fears you. Maybe he sees what we all see in UWF and GTS. And you know what? Maybe he's just okay running people down like Craven Rage. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. What do I know, right? I mean,
hey, listen, I'm wrestling anybody that wants to step up. And honestly, at the end of the day, I'm just a guy who likes to be violent. So I'll go wherever, whenever. You want me? You know where to find me.
Well, you know what? They have a 400-seat venue that they're trying to sell out. it would be my advice to whoever runs that promotion, if you're not booked on the 20th of January, to see if they can maybe work a deal out. That would just be my advice. Listen, what do I know? I know nothing, clearly. I know nothing about anything. I'm clearly some, knucklehead, nobody that has a Hall of Fame that's with a bunch of hillbillies in there and a bunch of weirdos and a bunch of backyard wrestlers, and I know nothing about anything. So you know what? I'm going to let that sit there. I'm gonna
gotta start somewhere, man. That's what I started. Was in the backyard. Look where I'm at now.
I'll start. Listen, I'll start in the closet. But the blind can read Mikey. Okay. I got you.
He's talking about my back. I've always had a running joke.
I caught. I definitely
I've always had a running joke with my boys that are like, "Hey, let's find." I've always said this, and it sounds cruel, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. I've always wanted to get a legitimate blind person to see if they can read any form of Braille with the scars in their back. Just because I'm like, what's the possibility? It says like, oh God, it says help.
I shouldn't do this. As we're speaking here with the one and only Mikey Anarchy, you can follow him on Instagram and Twitter, Anarchy UWF666. Also, we'll get to obviously our friends in the TF crew and also Resurrection Wrestling Infused. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, we're all wrestling management, Sportswire Radio. Have you ever considered you remember playing the Light Bright game? You could put all the lights on there. You could kind of like.
No, never done that.
If you could see maybe with your back now, I know it's kind of a sick joke, but maybe you could actually light up with your back. You could actually light up the house, light up the room. So if there's a way to connect all those marks and all those, different things you have. I'm just saying, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure if you play connected dots, there might be a constellation.
That might be also. You could play Operation with that. I mean, you could play Candyland maybe. I mean, listen, don't feel too bad because I actually have people that say, "Hey, can I pull on your mutton chops? Are they real?" And I say, "Yes, I haven't touched them in 5 years." So I mean, yeah, actually, it's to the point. Actually, somebody tried to tug on it. I shouldn't say this, but last week I actually was like, "That hurt." That was like, "Oh, that hurt." But they were going like this. I'm like, "Okay." I know you don't like me, but that's okay. But let me get to a couple different things because I want to come back to the TF crew. Me and Dirty Ron will be doing a show. I'm going to get to Dirty Ron. I'm going to get to that. Hang on tight. Hang on. Mikey's first match, he did use a dildo as a weapon. Well, you know what? Listen, everybody's got to start somewhere. Listen, everybody's got to start somewhere.
I mean,
you know what? If it worked, I want to say hello.
Oh, it did.
Well, that's it. Listen, I mean, you know what? God bless you. I mean, listen, you know what? I'm not going to judge. I want to say hello to my very good buddy, Mr. Big Tex. He's the big man of DBW in the state of Maryland, not too far from you. He's on my show Saturday night, I believe, 10 o'clock Eastern time.
I've heard of DBW.
Oh, you have? Well, I'm glad you have because actually DBW is where Mr. Wakefield is in. And, another guy that I'd love to see you wrestle one day in DBW is this guy, Mr. Judgment. He calls himself the Prophet of Purgatory, calls himself the Final Boss. He goes out there. This guy, Big Tex, who's got away maybe more than you even. He basically picked him up over his head and tossed him like a sack of potatoes. And, this guy, Mr. Judgment, maybe one day, if whatever works. Now, what do I know? I'm a nobody podcaster. I got hillbillies I'm friends with. Maybe that would be one day that, you could see that match sometime. I'm just saying, DBW's got a big following. They got 3,500 subs on their YouTube page. Their last show, Mary Mayhem, had almost 1,000 views. So, you know what? You would certainly go there. I mean, because they're popular. So, but that's here nor there. I really want to come back to TF Crew. I got so many people coming here. But anybody who steps up, that's from Soldier GP. He's the IMF World Champion. And management is here. Yo, Mikey, your nipples poking out. Oops, wrong account. All right, so, we got all that out of the way. I want to talk to you about Brax. I'm going to tell you why I want to come back to Brax. Because, I always ask wrestlers this question. I've been doing this for 5 years. This is your first match, correct, of 2024, right?
Yes, it is immediately the first match I'm having.
Okay, then that's why I wanted to ask you this right away, because you're the second wrestler I'm having on the show in 2 days to start 24, but the first one that's wrestling this week. Does that put pressure on you? Does that put an extra kind of like emphasis on this match? Because there's an old expression in life. First impressions mean everything. There's an expression that goes, this is what people remember you most. This is your opportunity. You had a huge 2023 to end, but now 2024, you can start with literally a bang by basically destroying Brax in this hardcore Haas match, and then go what you really want is that TF Crew YouTube title. So I'm curious, champ, is this first match kind of really extra important to you because it's the first match of the year and it's the first impression?
I would say not because of the fact that it's the first match of the year or even the first impression, because this isn't
Mhm.
the first time I've ever seen Brax. This is the first time we're ever going to step in the ring.
Okay.
However, that's the added pressure is the fact that it's a guy like Brax, that it's a guy who works for a company like H2O where I'm trying to get to one day. Now, I've got my own list of guys I want, and if taking
I'll,
Brax down is the first step into that direction, I'm going to do it. Because quite frankly, like I said, at the end of the day, I want anybody. Anybody that wants it, come and get it. I love to fight. This is my life. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. So if I'm going to keep going, I'm going to take on any and everybody. I've already stepped up to people from the UK, from Canada, and from France. And what happened? They all said the same thing. Good job, kid. You know what you're doing.
now,
One
now,
day I'll see you soon.
slight detour on that because I do a lot of British wrestling, and I'm wondering this because maybe I've heard your name and it's slipping my mind. Who have you wrestled in the UK?
He's a deathmatch wrestler who is most known for stuff like Kumite Pro Wrestling and Raw.
Oh,
His name
okay.
is Danny Darko.
I know
One of the
Danny Darko. You
one
wrestled
of the yep.
when did you wrestle Danny Darko?
So to give a
I
little
know that name.
story.
Okay, when did you wrestle?
So
I want to know this question now.
August 4th, it was initially supposed to be me versus Mike Fatality for the Uncivilized Championship at
Okay,
UWF.
I knew. That I knew.
It was our Underground Ultraviolence 3. Earlier in the day, it had been brought to our attention that CZW, it was their junkyard show, had been postponed. And one thing led to another, and the match turned into me versus Mike Fatality versus Tarzan Duran versus Danny Darko. Danny Darko came, I looked at him, he looked at me, and we're like, all right, let's do it, brother. The rest is history. The rest has just been history. And after that, it turned into an Uncivilized Cup tournament match against Canadian wrestler That Kyle, part of Total Fucking Chaos.
That I knew.
And,
that I knew because I had hardcore
Yep.
on a couple weeks ago. That I knew.
And
that
then recently, for part of the Seven Deadly Sins tournament for Pro Wrestling Venom, a guy named R1 who had been who traveled from France and had been working a couple independent shows around the country, like I believe SSW, and was traveling around with Tarzan.
Okay.
And he had just happened to enter the Seven Deadly Sins tournament against me and Jimmy. And he happened to be the third international guy I've wrestled this year, which was not expected to happen. None of that I expected to happen. So the fact that, you know, life had this crazy way of saying, here you go, kid. This is your chance. Prove it to everyone. I think I did a damn fine job.
I do a lot of British wrestling coverage, and I want to ask you one more question. Before I do, I want to give actually a big shout out to the owner of who I call Cullery Community Wrestling, aka Cullery Championship Wrestling. That is Mr. James Barris. James Barris to me is the best freaking wrestling owner in the entire sport right now. And James Barris just had in his company. He had a guy, Davey Blaze, who just wrestled some guy, James Storm. And Davey, you probably heard of. Yep. So I want to make sure, James Barris, if you're listening to this, Mr. Barris, and you actually want to book a guy from America that actually has gone to the UK, the guy that you should book right now is the guy that's on our screen right now. That's Mikey Anarchy, who's been seen in millions of homes in 2 different places. So, you know.
I'd love a UK trip because there, you know, the another people I want to shout out especially are the Deathmatch Outlaws, specifically Danny Douglas. He's been a big supporter of UWF. He was initially just a fan that came to the initial Uncivilized Cup in 2018. Then him and I started networking, and since he started, you know, Deathmatch Outlaws in the UK, he's been helping revolutionize the scene over there, along with guys like Big F and Joe, who is a dream match. Big F and Joe, that's the dream match right there, along with Schlack, Masada, Mickey Knuckles, Low Life Louie, and then some. There are a lot of guys that I'm like, I got to make this happen. So when I eventually can finally make it to the UK, I want Big F and Joe.
Okay, well, you know, we'll certainly find out there. Let's come back, though, to a few other things. Will Mikey be the first ECH champion?
Yes. The guy who's sponsoring Brax. Hey, I'll take it.
That would be
I
Elm
already
City
got.
Hardcore,
I,
if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
I got 2
Yep.
championships sitting next to me right now. Why not add 3, 4, 5, 6? Hell, my suitcase is already full
Hey,
as it
listen,
is.
you could be the Kenny Omega of 2020 to 21, where he had,
You
I
never know.
lost count how many championships. Listen, everybody,
Yeah.
we have a guy in the UK. He's called the Natural Born Fighter RP Davis, and they call him the Unified World Champion in England. He's got 4 championships. But if you could have maybe 4, 5, 6 championships, who's going to get in your way? You're Mikey Anarchy. You defy pro wrestling. You bring more anarchy than war. I'm not going to get in your way. I don't think anybody else is going to get in your way. And that's why maybe you could be that first ECW champion. For sure, that ECH championship. Could
Yeah,
all
I'm
be
all in.
yours.
I'm all in. Like I keep saying, step up, find me, pay me, and I'll come and kill your best guys.
I have another question for management. I want to bring up that up. How will the TF Crew ECH partnership work out? What do you think?
With blood. This is the first match in that partnership, is me and Brax. So if he wants to keep sending guys my way to take down, bring them all.
I think it reminds me of, I think it was Pantera Cowboys from Hell. I think it was Message in Blood. I think you're going to give your message in blood. I don't know if you've got
Absolutely.
the vocals like Phil Anselmo. You got a little bit of the look, but we'll have to find out on more of that. Let me ask you another question on TF Crew. So we're speaking with the one and only Mikey Anarchy. You can follow Mikey on Instagram and Twitter at Anarchy UWF666. He is the UWF Underground Champion, also the GTS Intercontinental Champion. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire Radio, the #1 global radio station, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, here on Sportzwire Radio. This is the first live indoor event for the TF. I know you've obviously been with the company. You've wrestled Gabe Sayers. But, what do you think this means to the company long term to have an event like this where you have so many big names on the show? A lot of people do shows and it's like, okay, I'm going to find a few of my friends and, maybe we're lucky we get one name. You got like 4 or 5 of some of the biggest names around here in hardcore deathmatch wrestling. And, this is we're going in here almost like, again, to steal another heavy metal song. We're jumping into the fire like Metallica sang on Kill 'Em All. I think you guys are literally going to kill them all, and you'll be a lot more heavier than Metallica is these days. So, I mean, I have to ask. That was funny. Because I really have been too big a fan of Metallica these days. But,
Fair enough.
how do you though think that this goes for the company long term to have such an event like this where so many big names are going to be a part of?
So I can kind of speak both sides, both in the ring and behind the curtain, actually.
Sure.
So initially, when me and Gabe before, I'd known him for at least a decade, and he always had the ambition to be in wrestling like me too. And one of the things he wanted to do more than I did was run his own shows. And I looked at Gabe and I said, all right, you run a show, I'll be there. And sure enough, through his connections and training at PAPW, he got his connections. He's running the ship now. And honestly, I give all the credit to that dude. He said he was
Gabe's
going to
a great
do
guy.
it. And he
Gabe
did it.
legitimately is one of these guys that if I could take a moment, and I know he's going to get mad when I say this, but Gabe's one of these guys that I really want to root for. There's some people that are in the wrestling business and they're people that they play the politics, they play the phony BS, they form with these cliques and they book the same matches and they do things to basically pop the boys and they do things to be in their best interest. But Gabe is going out there. He's a college student, he's a filmmaker, he's got 14 different things on his plate, he's got a health issue he spoke about here, and yet this guy is still going out there and not only putting on a show, not only putting on a live indoor event that's going to be one of the best things around in 2024. He's got a show that's coming out there with some fire. I mean, that's why this is a guy that everybody needs to root for and follow the TF Crew on Instagram at TF Crew and YouTube at TF Crew 69 champ.
Yeah. I literally was around in his life when this was a concept. When he told me years ago, and I mean years ago, when we were both still young teenagers, he told me he had these ideas, and I said, all right, the second you do it and the second I can do it, let's do it. So the fact that I got to give the kid his flowers, man. He really has stepped up and even proven me wrong, because I had my doubts a lot of times with him because I thought you're in over your head. And quite frankly, he's proven me wrong. So all I can say is I'm gonna have his back no matter what. I sure as hell hope he has mine because I'm gonna beat his ass if he doesn't. And
Well,
see
you
you
guys have
for
some
Kinetic
history,
Magic.
that's for sure. That's
You're
for
telling
sure.
me. I took the YouTube belt from him the first time, first ever TF Crew sanctioned match. So yeah, we definitely have some history. Me and him, and another guy who is a very, he's almost an unsung hero, is what I call him, Calman, one of Gabe's best friends. Who Gabe and Calman, they started TF Crew years ago. That was their little thing, and it snowballed the second I started, calling Gabe out years ago. So the fact that we're both here now and, as friends, as enemies behind and on screen, I'm proud of that kid. He's doing something that he said he wanted to do, and he's living the dream. You know, I have nothing else to say other than I'm proud of him. I really am.
Well, we definitely want people to support the TF Crew, and you can follow the TF Crew again on YouTube at TF Crew, also Instagram TF Crew 69. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station, your voice of all wrestling. We are here with none other than Mr. Mikey Anarchy. And if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, give us a follow anytime on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579 backspace streams, where you can watch past, present, and future shows on Sportswire Radio covering things like the TF Crew and Resurrection Wrestling, which we're going to get to, and GTS, Pro Wrestling Venom, UWF, maybe even some guys like Jimmy Controversy, Mac 10, Hardcore.
Ooh.
You can watch all that stuff here. And also, if you have a podcast out there, you want to play some live music, hear different things, you can catch us anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on sportswireradio.org. Also, you can check us out here on our brand new blog at Tumblr at Sportswire Radio. I'll have more wrestling coverage coming up here Thursday. 7 o'clock, I'll be with VTW World Champion and DBW Hub City Champion Aaron Jones. 9:30 from XCW, I'll be live with DJ Wolbert of Unholy. So I'll be here with DJ Wolbert of Unholy. I'll also be here Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 p.m. British Standard Time from CCW Daniel Baldwin. So a lot of wrestling coverage ahead. So keep in touch with us. But we are here right now with Mr. Mikey Anarchy. And I got to get to it because obviously Mr. Tibbs wants to talk about it, which means I'm actually going to put the banner right up on the screen here for our friends over at Resurrection Wrestling here. And I'm trying to get a bigger picture up, but I have to convert the file, so it may not be tonight, but I've got the banner here. And Mr. Tibbs wants to talk about it, and I want to talk about it. So going into lockdown, it was announced here a couple weeks ago when Mac 10 was on here. In fact, I believe it was about 10 days ago that we saw you. And again, a man you know very well. I think you must see this man in your sleep at this point so many times in Jimmy Controversy. And
At this point,
what is your strategy going into that match on the 27th of January? I know you got to get through Brax first, but what is the plan here? Cage of Hell in that lockdown match against Jimmy Controversy and Mac 10.
Same strategy I have from the start. Fight. There is no other strategy other than fight. Mac 10, he's a monster in of himself. And then there's, Jimmy, who I'm going to use like a toothpick. But that's neither here nor there. Really, the strategy is not Jimmy. The strategy is taking down Mac 10. Mac 10, that's his home. This is his territory. Not only that, we're locked in a cage. This is the first time I've ever been in a cage match. So what happens when you put two violent men locked in front of each other with no way out? You back them into a corner. And what do they got to do? They got to fight. They're going to eat each other alive. And it is going to be the most glorious thing in the world.
Let me ask you, though, a question on that. I'm going to get to Mac 10, and actually I'm going to get to something here in a few minutes about that. But you and Jimmy obviously have, what the world knows, have been going back and forth in different places. And, we know all that. I'll definitely, I'm sure, speak about that in a little while. But you're going into a place that you haven't been to before. You're going to an area that, you don't have as much experience in as other places. They're not as familiar with you. I mean, how do you almost in a way combat almost Mac 10's, I guess to steal a sports phrase, home field advantage? How do you kind of deal with that? Because in a way, Mac 10, he might really be having the edge in this match because you and Jimmy might cancel each other out, and that can kind of be able to get him the victory that he needs here and keep his momentum going. I mean, what do you say on that?
That's actually a very fair point because, sometimes especially in this kind of situation, I almost look at Mac 10 like, oh shit, like, right, I forget you're there too, because I'm focused on killing Jimmy. Then I'm
Well,
like,
that's
oh,
my point
right.
because you and Jimmy, the
Yeah,
last few months, it's been like, and your
it's
history
been
with Jimmy
hell.
goes back, and you and Jimmy, your history goes back like 3-4 years. So, I mean, there's a long history there with you and Contra, and especially recently of late. So, the fact of the matter is, Mac 10's got momentum. He was just in Carnage Cup. He's in his home
Yes,
environment right now.
he
He's
is.
kind of like their guy in Resurrection, and
He
you're
is.
coming into a territory. Jimmy at least knows. He knows what he's getting into at Resurrection. He was in the toy death match. So he has an idea of what this environment will be in. But you haven't been here before, Mike. I mean, Champ, tell us
No,
how you kind of deal with that.
there's really, again, it goes back to the same thing I've said. There's only one way to deal with it. You do it. Triple threats, fatal four ways, those aren't a stranger to me. And being in an unfamiliar territory is no stranger to me either. The same thoughts went in my head the second I debuted down at POR Wrestling in Virginia. The same thoughts in my head, same thing for Venom, and same thing for GTS. But I'm going to do the exact same thing I did at Venom, at GTS, and at POR, even when I debuted at UWF. I'm going to show the world. I'm going to show everyone in that audience, and I'm going to show Mac 10 and especially Jimmy because he already knows exactly what I can do. YouTube and social media only do you justice because you only see a glimpse of it about what has happened. You don't get to see it in person. Everybody in that audience gets to see it in person for the first time. And when people like me, you see them on YouTube, you see them at GTS, you see them at Venom, and
Oh, I
we're
mean, I'm
more
gonna get to
contained.
that. I mean, listen, you've been seen in
Yeah,
so many
we're
homes.
more
You've been
contained
seen.
because they're there. They got a lot more of their guys that want to prove themselves, and I'm just a big fish in the small pond, or in this case, I'm the small fish in the big pond. But at the same time, evolution's a bitch. Evolution's a bitch. I'm the youth of ultra violence right now. Jimmy, you're old news. Go fuck yourself. Mac
Okay,
10
but let me
though,
ask you.
I don't take him lightly. Mac 10
Okay,
I
but
don't take lightly. I'm
okay,
just
but
gonna do it.
let me ask you a follow, and I might have somebody that might want to talk to you in a few minutes, but let's hold up on that thought. I am gonna finally be able to get these banners up in a second, so I'll do that in a few minutes. But you say that you're gonna be less contained. You say free reigns is gonna happen on the 27th of January, right? But could
Yep.
I say conversely that when it comes to this show lockdown, that you might have more of the bullseye and the target on your back because you're the guy right now that's a champion of a promotion that is one of the most viewed in the entire world. You're not just some knucklehead that's come on the past here on Sportswire and has wrestled in front of 10 people, 15 people in the UK somewhere. And, they started their own promotion and they couldn't pay their friends even to show up to the show. You have been in legitimately, I know, I just said that mic drop, right? But the facts of the matter is that you have been in figuratively and literally millions of homes. The engagements show that. We will get to that.
Yeah.
You not feel that you could have a bullseye on your back?
I'm used to having a bullseye on my back. Anytime I've held a championship, whether it's Underground Championship, now the Intercontinental Championship, or when it was the Uncivilized Championship, I'm used to guys trying to take what I create and take my legacy and try to turn it for them. But guess what? There's a reason why I've survived the last 5 years because I don't give up. I don't let people walk all over me like some of these idiots do. You want the absolute best of me, you're going to get that the second the bell rings. We're not friends. We are simply two individuals. You do whatever you want when you look at me across the ring. When I look at them across the ring, I have murder on the mind. I see red. I see what I want to do, and all I want to do is I want to rip their goddamn head open, biting their forehead open, ripping their eyes out, breaking their nose, punching their teeth out, whatever I have to do, whatever it takes. And best believe me, I'm going to do the exact same thing to Mac 10 and to Jimmy Controversy January 26th. The
But we
same
know
thing
that
I'm going to do
Jimmy.
to Brax.
But we know that Jimmy and you, we know the deal. We know that Jimmy has been on Pro Wrestling Venom TV, GTS TV, and UWF TV, and we know the history there. We know that
Yep.
obviously Jimmy has a way of going about things, and it's Jimmy's way of going about things.
Yeah.
Mac 10 now is not Jimmy Controversy. That's all I'm saying. Now,
No,
I'm
he's
going to get to
not.
something in a couple of minutes. You know that. You know Mac 10
Yeah.
is not Jimmy
Mac,
Controversy.
like I said, Mac 10 is not someone I take lightly. I know that when I go there, it's his home, and he's going to fight. He's going to bring out the absolute best of me, and I want the absolute best from him. I don't want any limitations. I don't want any excuses. I want Mac fucking 10. Just like how you're going to get Mikey fucking Anarchy. So Mac 10, all respect to you, but I've got something to prove. You're comfortable. You know what you're doing. But I've got something to prove. That's more dangerous than anything in the world. Is a man with everything to gain, but he also has nothing to lose.
Talk about coming into Resurrection Wrestling. It's a company that has a lot of momentum right now. It has a mix of up-and-coming wrestlers, a mix of guys like yourself, certainly Jimmy. Obviously, Ronnie Brady, the West Memphis Kid, is their champion. Mac 10's been around here. Dustin Alexander was in that match against Jimmy, and he's certainly done very well for himself. Also, it's a again up-and-coming roster with some guys like yourself who've certainly been household names. And talk about coming into this company and, what do you expect? And maybe what do you want to share? Because, I've had guys on from that company and I asked them, what did you learn from speaking to Jimmy? What did you learn from Jimmy and his experiences in GTS, wrestling Tommy Dreamer, his own company? So what do you expect walking into that company on the 27th of January?
I expect nothing.
You do?
I don't expect a single thing because when you have expectations, you tend to get disappointed.
Yeah, I've heard
Exactly.
that was the story of my entire life. I am from Brooklyn, New York, so I've heard all that my entire life.
I go into nothing with any expectations. I love to learn. I love to explore. And Resurrection Pro, especially now that it's a new state I've never been in, which is Tennessee. I am so excited to finally get my foot in the door into another state, into another place. And hopefully it leads to, more growth and more expansion. Because that's all 2024 is for me. It's expansion, it's growth. So the fact that I've been blessed to be given an opportunity, I'm very, very thankful for that. There's guys like me who will fight for their entire lives, and people don't want to give them a chance. So the fact that, Joseph Tibbs has given me a chance, all respect. Thank you for that. Thank you, absolutely.
Well, we'll certainly find out here, and it looks like I will actually be able to get a slide there for a second. I'm going to get the Resurrection one in a second. It took me forever. I was really trying to get that up. Actually, we have both screens on there, but obviously, I should ask you now. If I had somebody that you might be seeing on the 27th of January that, might want to have a conversation with you once again. It might want to talk to you about something that they want to share with you. Would you be interested in that person? I mean, you are Mikey freaking Anarchy. I don't expect you, unlike, let's say, Mr. Controversy, to kind of say, I'm not quite sure if I want to, have a chat or say anything. I mean, do you, would you be all right with that?
I'll always entertain a conversation.
You will?
Especially because I know it ain't Jimmy. Jimmy's too much of a bitch to show up right now. He's off playing pretend right now. So I know who this is.
You do?
And if he wants to talk, please come and join. Because I can actually have an intelligent conversation with this man. I'm like Jimmy. At least then I can actually speak. Jimmy, shut the hell up.
Well, all right. Well, you know what? Then I guess I should let you know that I have actually sent a invite to that individual, and it looks like for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, back for more, his second appearance here in less than 2 weeks, none other than one of the men that you're going to see in lockdown at Resurrection Wrestling's next event here. It's Mr. Mac 10. Mac 10, how you doing?
Mikey.
Hi.
What's up?
So I don't know if you were paying attention to the comments or anything, but I found out something that I do not like.
Uh-oh. What do you mean?
It has to do with our match on the 27th. And I think Jimmy's up to something.
What do you mean?
Just found out there's going to be a fourth guy in the match.
What do you mean? Wait,
Bring it on. Bring it on.
You sure?
Another
Yeah.
one. Bring it on. Who is it? You know who it is?
I don't know yet.
Oh, that's even better. That's even better. Just what I told you. Expect nothing. And look what happens. More victims. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Oh, ringing in the new year with some fun right now. I can't wait.
I know, right?
Well, why would you be upset that there's a fourth opponent? Wouldn't that help you, Mac 10? Because you know automatically that you got controversy and anarchy. You know that they're going to kill each other and basically, tear each other apart. I mean, wouldn't more opponents actually help you? Because you've got home field advantage. All you have to do is really, for those who are a sports fan, 25% of the end of what you have to do, you win. So shouldn't that be an advantage for Mac 10?
It might be an advantage. It might not be an advantage.
We don't know who the fourth man is. I think that makes it more fun, though. I like this.
Because the thing is, if it's going to be a guy that I already know that I've already beat, then I'm fine. But the unexpected is what's got me mad.
But you're Mac 10. Why would the unexpected get you mad? You're Mac 10. You should be basically like, this is what I'm in my environment. Mikey Anarchy's basically said, I'm coming here, and you know what? I'm basically unleashing more anarchy. I mean, we thought that he defied pro wrestling to begin with. We thought that he gave anarchy to be a war. He's saying, not so fast, my friends, to quote Lee Corso. He's going to come out here and just do 10 times more than what he normally does. And I just saw him basically go out there and throw axes around.
Yeah, that might be the thing, but the reason I'm saying this is because I know it wasn't Tibbs that did this. Every time I get going, every time I've got any fire under my belt, my so-called brother, the West Memphis Kid, Ronnie Brady, always tries to thwart me in a way. He's cost me championship after championship.
So, how would Brady and controversy? What would their role be in all this?
Jimmy's a bitch. He probably hired some idiotic Venom guy because Jimmy thinks he needs another guy to win. Jimmy's gonna lose no matter what. The real battle's me and you, Mr. Mac 10. We're the ones that are really having the fight here. Jimmy's almost a non-factor at this point.
Ooh.
You never underestimate the non-factors. That's what I've learned.
Fair enough, but I've also I've stomped Jimmy out enough to know at this point he's nothing. He's nothing to worry about.
It's just like me underestimating Redneck Rebel and him eliminating me.
Fair enough.
I underestimated one of the older guys, and no.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that. But at the same time, it's Jimmy. It's Jimmy.
That's where all the controversy
stands a chance against both of us?
Jimmy has no chance against us.
Exactly. It's why I'm not worried
about it. The guy that he might be bringing.
You know who he's probably bringing? He's probably bringing some pipsqueak. He's probably bringing like an Isaac Scythe or something. And that dude's nothing. That dude's skinny than a toothpick. Nah, I don't care. I don't care one bit. Who does Jimmy have in his pocket left? Who is Jimmy's friend? Let's be real here. Jimmy has no friends. He has no allies. He thinks he does. He thinks he has an army.
But wait a minute. I got to jump in on that because obviously, now I know you're going to certainly have some justifiable points there, champ. But in Resurrection Wrestling, we really don't know who Jimmy's friends could be. Couldn't it be anybody? I mean, and also could maybe controversy be learning from some of the mistakes he's made against you in the UWF and GTS and Pro Wrestling Venom? I mean, listen, we don't know who this fourth person is. And I also want to remind those who are listening and watching on Sportzwire Radio, we will have plenty of coverage between now and the 27th of January. So something tells me I might see you individuals between now and the next 25 days. And I'm sure that management's going to tell us between now and the 27th who this fourth person is, unless you think maybe there's even a possibility that we won't know until showtime. Is that maybe that's what you're concerned about, Mac 10? You think that's a possibility?
It's always a possibility. But knowing me, since this is my yard, I'm going to find out who it is.
Is this a way you think by controversy trying to play games and knowing that you have the home field advantage and he learned about what happened at the last show in Fallout that maybe now he's pulling a trick up his sleeve and this is a way to kind of negate your home field advantage? Because Anarchy said he doesn't care. He's taking the gloves off. Anarchy's going out there and said that this is his moment. He's going to show this is a place for a stepping stone to unleash the gloves for whatever that means. But controversy's been here before. He knows what you're up to. And maybe this is his way in a sly tactical way, because say what you want about controversy. Listen, Grim can call him, controversy and whatever he wants to call him on GTS TV. But the facts is that controversy is going to play the game. He knows how to play the game. And if he can take away your home field advantage to make you look bad, that's all he's going to care about.
Yeah. But Jimmy also might have to watch it, because if I find out who it is, I might have a little bit more money than he does.
You think so? Because we know that controversy doesn't really pay his wrestlers. That's what we've heard. That's the word on the street is in Pro Wrestling Venom. So,
He's got no money. He's got to owe someone a life debt at this point. He's got no money. He can't. Who do you think bankrolls Pro Wrestling Venom? It ain't Jimmy. It's Dirty Ron McDonald.
So I shouldn't say anything, but do you think there's any sick, twisted way that Mr. Dirty Ron is out there with that? You think that there's a way to put a lifeline out there? But you're a known entity, Mac 10. You were in Carnage Cup. You're on people's radars now, not just here in the Tennessee scene. You were in Carnage Cup. Just saying.
Hey, maybe it's a Deep South guy. You never know. I don't know what business dealings Jimmy made when he was in Deep South. I know he got his ass handed to him by Brian Woods and the Necro Butcher. And I know no matter what, he's going to get his ass handed to him by the both of us.
We've spoke about that here on prior shows, but Mac 10, you're going to have to figure this out. I mean, listen, you know what? Mikey's got the same issues that you've got.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to focus now on somebody else, and you can't now have the strategy of Anarchy and controversy beating each other up. You're just going to have to adjust and, go with it almost.
There's always the adjustments.
Yep.
Always going for what you want. Yep. That's wrestling and that's life.
Well, I want people to actually go out there and support Resurrection Wrestling through a few different ways. First of all, we've put it up on the screen. I was actually able to finally do it. And what a pain in the butt this was, because unfortunately, I had to convert it into 3 different files. You can actually go to the show. And by the way, you can see a couple of different people here on this poster. Oh, like some guys, Mac 10, like some guys, Mikey, Anarchy, and like even a guy, Jimmy, Controversy. They're on that poster. You can go there January the 27th. Walnut Grove, Memphis, Tennessee, the Second Baptist Church, 4:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. for adults. And get this, $7 kids only. 12 and under, $5. I mean, think about this, right? We spoke about McDonald's and what can $20 get you. I just went to Aquaman 2 Lost Kingdom, and that cost me over $23 in real 3D. I just went out to eat before I went here tonight, and I spent about $20 literally on pizza and a soda. I mean, think about this. You're getting a deal that's better than all that. If you want to go to a sporting event, forget about that. The cost of parking, forget about all that. But you can actually go to Resurrection Wrestling Show Lockdown, their latest show, as an adult, $7. I repeat, $7. Go out there and support them. Also, by the way, they're on a number of different platforms. Resurrection Pro Wrestling on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Resurrection. And get this, guys. On TikTok, guys like me, knuckleheads like me are in New York who aren't unfortunately going to be there at Memphis, Tennessee. I can actually watch you guys live in real time on the TikTok Resurrection Wrestling page. So when anybody wants to know where I'm going to be, at 7 o'clock Eastern time to 7 o'clock, whatever it's going to be, I'm going to be in front of my phone with my phone on TikTok, watching these guys here on my screen, Mikey Anarchy, Mac 10, Jimmy Controversy, and that fourth participant to be announced, I'm sure, between now and the 27th. You can watch that show for free. And also, by the way, if you want to buy some merchandise, you want to buy some Resurrection Wrestling merchandise, maybe you want to buy a Mac 10 shirt, maybe we can get some Mikey Anarchy merchandise up there. All you have to do, very simple, sweet, right into the point, you can go to redbubble.com, /people, /Resurrection Pro, and go out there and see what we're going to all find out. We're going to have a match of the ages. It's going to be Cage of Hell, Lockdown, Anarchy, Mac 10, Controversy, and a fourth participant to be named later. Stay tuned for more details. Also, by the way, Mr. Tibbs, who's very happy. I put the graphic up, by the way. I told you I got you, Mr. Tibbs. By the way, Mr. Tibbs, thank you for all of your support of Sportswire. I can't thank you enough for your friendship. It's been an honor to get to know you the past couple of months. That graphic is available on the Redbubble short store right now. So if you can't get that Anarchy merchandise, you can't get that Mac 10 merchandise, all you have to do is just buy a shirt. Just buy. You know what I'm going to even do later this week? I'm going to be buying a Resurrection shirt because I want to make sure we support people like Joseph Tibbs, like Mikey Anarchy, like Mac 10, maybe even Jimmy Controversy, because these guys, well, he's on the shirt. He's on the shirt. I mean, if I'm
who wants to support that pipsqueak? Jesus Christ, you want to talk about how much a fucking Happy Meal is? He can't even afford a Happy Meal.
Well, then how is he alive these days?
I don't know. He's a sewer rat at this point.
Well, you know what?
He's a fake rent-a-cop.
They call him. You know, I've always wondered how is he a sergeant? You know, like I was wondering. Like,
he ain't.
You know, where's the badge?
Sergeant of what?
Well, I have a running joke for that, and I'm actually going to bring back Mac 10 on the screen here. I have a running joke for that. It would be like maybe Sergeant of Arms. Like you remember in school when they had like color guard, and it was like the Sergeant of Arms.
Jesus Christ, Jimmy can't even lead a goddamn line of kindergartners.
Hey, you know what? Maybe that's what it was, and it stuck a bell. So you know, Mac 10, do you want to say anything else about this? You want to say anything else about the 27th? I mean, obviously, we're all excited about this. We got the banner up. I mean, I know it's not the best banner that we got up there, but at least it's something up there so people can now say, hey, I want to go to Resurrection Wrestling. I want to go support this great cause. Is there anything else that you might want to say in particular? I'm sure you're going to have lots of Mountain Dew before the show, right?
That's always the thing. Kind of slow down about a week ahead of the show.
Okay.
But that's just about it. Because I know, Mikey, you weren't getting the information because y'all were still talking about only 3 people, but I had to get that information out there. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you told me that.
But you know what? You know, Mac 10, real quick. If you were upset, couldn't you have actually not said anything about it? Maybe even surprised Mikey on that?
Yeah, but then it would have been coming back out at me. Rather let bygones be bygones and just let people know.
Okay, well, you know what? I really respect that. And obviously, I want to thank you. I'm sure I'm going to see you between now and the 27th because, as I said, we have a ton of Resurrection coverage. We have Dustin Alexander coming on. It looks like Jacoby's rescheduled. We have Steven Silvestri, Wrestling's Greatest Referee, coming on. We have, I believe, Drake Golddragon's coming on. We have a number of different people from the roster on the show that are going to be
Anarchy, whatever you do not hit the world's greatest ref.
I don't hit referees. I love my referees. Referees are the backbone of this industry. Shout out to specifically 2 refs. Mr. Ref at Death, Mr. Wrestling, and Mr. Peacock Ref Jimmy Deacon. They're 2 of my favorite people in the world.
Well, Silvestri's he's all right. And Silvestri's coming back on the show. I actually do agree with you, Mac 10. Silvestri's all right now. A book. Silvestri is awesome. He's definitely going to be Wrestling's Greatest Referee if he's not already, because well he is. But Mac 10, obviously, I know I'm going to see you between now and the 27th. Thank you for all that you do for us. Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to watching you live on TikTok. I'm really excited about this because I've been saying throughout the last couple of days on Sportswire on January 27th between the hours, I guess, of 7 to 10 or 6 to 10. Don't bother me. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, it's going to be about 6 to 10 your time.
Yeah, whatever it might, 6 to 10 my time. Whatever it is, I'm watching Resurrection. Anytime after that, you can talk to me or before that. But until that middle of that time, I got my big gulp, got my phone out on that tripod and going boom. And especially that Cage of Hell match lockdown between yourself, Mikey Anarchy, Jimmy controversy, and a fourth participant to be named later. It almost feels like a trade in Major League Baseball when they say to be named later, and they say traded for somebody to be named later. Who knows who it'll be? We'll all find out. Mac 10, Happy New Year. Thank you for all you do for us, and I'll see you later.
Yep. See y'all guys later.
All right, that was Mac 10 here. Mac 10, obviously, huge part of things. So I'm going to take this off the screen because it's actually too big for my taste. And we got the idea. Mr. Tibbs, you know I love you. Obviously, we're going to remove this here right off the stage and see you on a bigger stage here because that's what I want to do. But obviously, I've got a little bit of time with you. I want to talk about a couple different things. We're here with Mikey Anarchy. Mikey is, by the way, one more time, the UWF Underground Champion of the World. He is the GTS Intercontinental Champion. Look at those two champions, one of the two of the most prized possessions, and especially that GTS title, where it's the number 7th most seen promotion in the world. That's right. You think about this, ladies and gentlemen. GTS, one of the most watched wrestling promotions in YouTube around of all in 2023. And think about the companies that it's ahead of. Some company you probably heard of called New Japan Pro Wrestling. Another company you heard of called MLW, who's had some guys you probably heard of coming up. Matt Riddle, Alexander Hammerstone just left there. How about Pro Wrestling Noah? That rings a bell. Or even a company that some guy Tony Khan owns called Ring of Honor. GTS is ahead of all of those companies and several other ones, and we are very, very honored to have on Mr. Mikey Anarchy. Okay, so obviously I'm going to come in and talk about controversy for a little bit, but I want to start off obviously in a lighter way. What does that mean to you? When I mentioned your name the last week on Sportswire, people were like, wow, you're speaking to Mikey Anarchy. I'm like, yeah, I'm speaking to Mikey Anarchy. And obviously I owe a solid debt of gratitude to Gabe Sayers for that. But the facts of the matter is you're a part of one of the biggest companies around in the world. And on top of that, you hold one of the most valued prizes in this sport. So I have to ask you right off the bat in a lighter way, because you are Mikey Anarchy. I'll get to the harder stuff in a second. I mean, what does that mean to you to be a champion of a company that's the 7th most viewed company, not just in YouTube, in my opinion, but in the entire world?
It legitimately does mean a lot of things to me. To peel back and talk a little bit about, when I was younger, I watched GTS wrestling as a kid. Wow. I was following Grimm when I was a very, very young Mikey Anarchy, and, watching him play with his figures and, putting on I
feel like people have been telling me that off air, like Skulls, Happy Birthday to Skulls again, have been telling me this off the air. Like, I watched GTS. Like, I grew up watching GTS, and you're having these guys on now, like Jimmy, and, Obey's obviously been a part of it of late, and certainly you. So it's like, wow, I'm like, I didn't realize I was, making somebody's day like that. And you've done that on a bigger scale,
It's definitely been more than just like a egotistical satisfaction and gratification for myself, because the fact that, despite what the former champion Rad Dad likes to say, I have the championship, this is mine, I'm the true Intercontinental Champion, despite what he might think and what he wants to believe in his stupid little mind. This means everything to me. He wants to sit there and say, I'm a guy with a belt. I'm just a paper champion. No, this ain't paper. This is leather and metal, baby. That's not paper. I'm like, what do you think? You think that just because I beat you in 30 seconds, Rad Dad, and I just so happened to unwrap your championship under the beautiful Christmas tree, that doesn't make me a champion? Okay, good for you. You want to use that excuse. You know how many guys have used that excuse before? I wasn't ready. The same guys who don't succeed. The same guys that love to say, what could have been for me, or what was me? I don't say what could have been. I say what will be. I knew that this eventually would happen one day. To think that it happened so quickly, though, fine by me. Now I've proven to another audience, what's next for me? Well, guess what? I'm going to take this GTS championship. I'm going to defend it at GTS, Pro Wrestling Venom, and with the approval, I'll even defend it at the TF Crew. I'll take this anywhere, because unlike Rad Dad, who kept it for a bunch of smelly pieces of shit, I don't limit myself. Anyone can come and get it. That includes Angel. That includes Obey. Hell, Grim could take his happy little self to Connecticut if he wants to take this from me. I don't care. Hell, it may not be for the title against Brax, but I would put this up against Brax. I'm that damn confident. But I won't. I will not. Because
Why not?
quite frankly,
Why not?
I'm not a man that hands out championship matches. I had to earn everything. And just like how I had to earn this, you're going to have to earn a championship match. Pro wrestling is not about friends. It's about being mean, making green. And guess what? How I make my green, you have to fight. You're going to fight, and you're going to have to earn this from me. Step up. Come and fight me. See what it's really about. I may be known for deathmatch wrestling, but when it comes to GTS, they don't do that stuff. So I've had to adapt. And I feel like that even makes me more dangerous. I don't need, glass, and I don't need barbed wire to prove myself. So I feel even more renewed. I feel more rejuvenated, more violent than ever before.
Let me ask you a question on that. Champ. You said that you're different in that you're not just this hardcore deathmatch wrestler that everybody sees. You're walking around with an axe, you're walking around with barbed wire, thumbtacks, everything else. So, I mean, do you want to wrestle things differently? Obviously, you're right. In GTS, it's a different type of wrestling for sure. We'll see you, I'm sure, in the TF crew this Saturday at the North Haven Massacre. I'm sure from Mr. Tibbs on the 27th at Lockdown, we're going to see what we're used to seeing you in the UWF and Pro Wrestling Venom. But I mean, do you want to be known? For example, not to bring up Jimmy again, but I'm going to bring it up in a way that you might relate to this. On my show, Jimmy had challenged a guy named Dean Allmark, who in British wrestling is considered a living legend. He he's actually a friend of mine, and I'm very honored to have had his friendship the past several months because one of his students is one of my biggest champions in Luke Leyland, one of figuratively and literally. This man has been, of my 5 years, probably been my biggest supporter. He's going to fight in a Dambe fight on the 13th of January in Nigeria. And Mr. Controversy was like, hey, I saw you having Dean Allmark, and Dean Allmark's wrestled Bryan Danielson, Jonathan Gresham for the Ring of Honor title, and Jushin Thunder Liger. He's like, I want a match with them. Do you want to do those type of things and wrestle different people that are outside your wheelhouse? I want to hear about it. Now's the time. I want to hear about it.
Absolutely.
So tell me.
I look at this championship, and I've seen guys, like Low Life Louie competed for the inaugural championship. That is a guy I look up to in wrestling, and a guy I want to fight as well. I grew up watching wrestling. There wasn't hardcore wrestling available all the time. No. I grew up watching guys like Kevin Steen in Ring of Honor, guys like Big Van Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow, not just in the WWE.
Do the Vader bomb. I've seen that.
Exactly.
I've seen you do it.
I've watched these guys in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Guys like Stan Hansen. They were badasses, not needing any weapons. Their weapons were their fists, were lariats, were everything they could pull out. I've been almost in a comfort zone with deathmatch wrestling. That's been what I've known for 5 years. And I would always love and cherish it to death. It'll always be my number one. But I also know deathmatch wrestling can only take you so far because, unfortunately, people don't view it the way that I do. They look at it as a ceiling. They preferably it's literally the glass ceiling for some people.
I disagree with that 1,000%.
And I disagree too.
And I'm going to tell you why I disagree before you come back to that, because I want to put this on the record as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire Radio, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. What you do, I guarantee that almost not 99% of any wrestler can't do because of what you do each and every time. And on top of that, you have more pressure, I think, than almost anybody else out there because you have to top every single thing that you do each and every time because people know you for doing something that's extremely difficult to do. And I think in a lot of ways what you do, there's a lot of guys conversely on the screen that can't do that. And I think actually in a lot of ways what you do should be commended and thanked because, again, I will guarantee you that there are guys out there that'll say, I'm this, and that. could never step a mile in your shoes and could never do what you do to put your body through. And you go out there each and every time and go out and top it. So I'm going to say it here. You know, you can take it for whatever the way you want. I'm going to say what you do, it should be applauded and thanked. And that's why I say all wrestling matters. And I say thank you for all that you do in the ring, because I really think, again, what do I know, right? But 99% of this sport cannot do what you do. I'm going to tell you to you. You can think of whatever you want.
And I agree. You know, a lot of people don't give deathmatch wrestling its flowers, and people like to put it down. Oh, it's a subculture. It's not a subculture. It is part of the culture. It is part of the conversation. People don't want to have that conversation, though. People love,
but people like horror movies, all right? People love, listen, they'll go see horror movies, right? They'll go out there, they have no problem sitting on the screen and watching somebody slash 50 people in 50 gruesome ways. There's no problem with that.
Exactly.
Nobody has a problem with UFC when somebody goes out there and nearly pummels somebody to where they're, to a bloody pulp. Nobody has a problem with that.
People don't like to admit because it's a sick, twisted thing.
Nobody has a problem with horse racing and how inhumane it is how horses get treated. I'm not trying to go on a soapbox on that, but I could point out 99 different things that are 99 different ways that are more gruesome or grotesque than what you and others do in the ring. And I'm just going to say it.
It's people's perception. I look at myself as all-encompassing. You want me to have a death match? You got it. But you want me to go out there and go fuck up your guy, not using a single weapon? I got you. People haven't given me that chance. And respectfully to Grim, he fucked up by giving me that chance, because now I get to unleash another side of me that a lot of people have never gotten the chance to see. You know, they look at a guy like me and they look at my back and they go, oh, he's just a wannabe. He's just a death matcher. No, I'm not. Just because my main priority is to be the best damn that I can be in deathmatch wrestling doesn't mean that I don't want to wrestle.
But they're okay with Eddie Kingston doing his twist on it. They're okay with John Moxley doing his twist on it.
And I love them.
Me too.
Me too. Eddie Kingston is a guy I relate to Kingston.
Listen, he's a local guy. He's from Yonkers. Listen. I mean, I followed the guy, so I know exactly what you're talking about. In fact, he came from a promotion that my buddy was trained at, Chris Urban from House of Glory. So I'm all up to date on that. But my point is that, and obviously you're the champion, you can do whatever you want. But the facts of the matter is that, there's a lot of people that people praise that do their own twist on hardcore deathmatch wrestling. But, certain guys get labeled and typed in. And I think that that's completely unfair, because I think, again, because watching your body of work, seeing what you've got a chance to do out there in the ring, and I've gotten a chance to visualize it, I think you're far more apt to doing things, or far more apt at doing things, than almost 99% of these other knuckleheads that complain about what you do.
Hey, you said it, not me.
I know. I'm getting the last 4 days. I'm getting that.
I've been very humbled, though. I don't like to talk about other people and their differences. I simply like to highlight people who are part of that. Jimmy doesn't know when to shut up. I don't look to tear down. I look to build up. I came from an absolute nothing, and I was raised up by a bunch of people that were like, we'll give you this opportunity. I like to raise up people that have been on my side and love to work with me. If you're a guy that you look at me and you go, holy shit, how do you do it? Come with me and I'll help you get to that point. You don't have to do deathmatch wrestling. If you want to just go out there and be the best damn Canadian destroyer guy out in the world, go for it. I'll help anybody that wants to come and learn. I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not one of those guys that looks at what I've done in wrestling and I'm like, oh, well, I did this. Fuck you. I say, all right, what can I learn from this? What can I do to better myself? And not only better myself, but if I can provide a spot on the card on any show and help elevate guys that may have not been given an opportunity before, like I was, I want to do that. I'm not Jimmy. I don't tear down. I don't put people in the ground and
I'm going to come back to that. I do want to get to a couple of people. First of all, I want to say hello, first of all, to Mr. Tibbs again. Says that he would love to work with Gabe Sayers sometime. Obviously, we hope that that's something that could happen. I know Gabe is going to come back onto Sportswire at some point in the next month. So I definitely would love to see that. I want to say hello, by the way, a guy who had a great match. Speaking of backyard wrestling that were really pro wrestlers, the good guy CJ Black successfully retained his ROEW World Heavyweight Championship against the destructive Jack Delta. And he says, thank you for doing death matches so I don't have to do that dumb shit. And he says Team Cornette. So obviously that's his opinion, but he's
Teach their own, man. I'm a Cornette fan. Cornette's funny as hell.
I was cool with it. Now listen, I mean, you know what? I thank people for tuning in at this point. You know what, guys? Like CJ at this point, I mean, I'm on his side because you know what? He's going out there and kicking some butt. And at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of guys that are coming at different people, I think, in different places, like they do with the hardcore and the yard and the underground. And I say, you know what? At this point, God bless you and thank you for what you do. You know,
everyone's got a different path with professional wrestling. Wrestling is, there's a word I keep saying, subjective. There is no definite set path.
People, no, and you know what I equated to? You know what I equated to? There was a line, I think it was, God rest his soul, Vinnie Paul of Pantera used to say that Pantera was like Baskin Robbins. You get 32 flavors of Pantera. You can get all different types of music in it at once. And that, to me, what I think is wrestling is. That's why I say all wrestling matters. So obviously, coming up toward the last 15 or 20 minutes of the show, I mean, you and Jimmy are locked in this whole feud about who's got the contract, who's got the title. It's involved the UWF. It's involved Pro Wrestling Venom. It's involved GPS. So, like, where do we go from here? You've got the underground title, but you also want that uncivilized title. So let's talk about that for the remaining minutes of the show.
Let's please. Because Jimmy, and I can't believe I say this, man. Jimmy got the better of me at one point and took my uncivilized championship. I'll give him that. He made a deal with that scumbag piece of shit Pat McIntosh and the new UWF, which we kicked their ass at the end of the day. When that footage drops within the next couple months, you'll see exactly what I'm looking
forward to having you on right after that because I can't wait to watch it.
Jimmy, you know what? I'll speak very candidly about Jimmy. Jimmy is one of those guys where I looked at him and say this is, this is middle school. He's one of those guys where he'll talk all this big game. Oh, I'm going to get the prettiest girl and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And everyone looks at him and goes, fuck you are. Okay.
You not impressed with the porn stars that he's done?
Congratulations. They're paid to get fucked.
All right.
They're paid to fake the orgasms for a reason. Because you're not giving it to them good enough.
I mean that
I don't gotta pay for those kinds of things though. I just do it. Jimmy, credit where credit's due. He's done some things. Fun fact, apparently at his last match, he was in New Jack's last match. Apparently, Good for him.
You're on here talking about Tommy Dreamer. He wrestled.
You wrestled Tommy Dreamer. Good for you. Good for you, Jimmy. But the thing is the past doesn't matter to me. What you've done, great. I've done my fair share of things. That doesn't mean anything now. What matters is what you do in this present day and age. And he flaunts around. He flaunts around the Uncivilized Championship like it's a consolation prize. Oh, well, I got this. Jimmy, you didn't earn it. You sold out, and you smarted me. I'll give you that. You smarted me. You blinded me with your fucking pepper spray, and you got paid by Pat McIntosh in a little coupe. But guess what? You knew UWF failed. Pat McIntosh failed. And Jimmy, you want to run. You keep running from me, buddy. All I want is my fair shot. Just like you were given a fair shot. But you keep running. So when I hold a championship like this, it's actually the first championship he ever held. As a matter of fact, in GTS wrestling, once again, me and Jimmy keep getting intertwined. It's the weirdest thing.
It's like almost like you guys. It's like I don't want to say it's like the Yankees and the Red Sox. I don't want to say it's like the 49ers and the Cowboys back when I was growing up. I don't want to say it's
I'll put it this way.
Rivalries. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll put it this way. I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's the Dallas Cowboys. When he steps into my territory, nobody wants you there. But when we come to your territory, people are interested to see what we're going to do because we have that mystique.
Well, you've won, and they haven't won recently. They have not won the Dallas
Please
Cowboys.
Don't get me started.
I thought you were
talking about the Eagles. I was about to be like, oh, don't get me started on the Eagles. We're not gonna divulge into that anytime soon.
No. But my point was that not so much about that, but in a way that you guys have been intertwined of late, and it's a rivalry that it's certainly taken you guys now and multiple promotions, and this is where I'm going to come back to TF Crew to kind of tie a bow on this whole thing with Jimmy.
Yeah.
Is that now Jimmy is going to go out there in a match against a man you also recently wrestled not too long ago in Hardcore. And I'm curious, I have to ask you then, like, because those two men, you're really not much fans of. I mean, although it was kind of funny when you guys all at the last match, you guys did that beer that was kind of funny. You all like remember the last.
See, the thing is Hardcore.
Yeah.
Well, I may not be a fan of
High pitch will, not your cup of tea. I think. The voice, right? The voice.
I want to punch an Adam's apple into his throat. But Hardcore will always have my respect. He came to UWF in 2021, and he stepped up to me, and he and I had a bloody affair, and he earned my respect that moment. You know, he looked like he was just another backyard guy that was looking to try to make a name, and you know what? He proved me wrong. He then went on to wrestle guys in XPW.
Yes.
You know, he's doing Total effing chaos with guys like Chuck Steen and Matt Kyle. You know, he's proven himself too.
Oh, Hardcore. We spoke about that with Hardcore. Hardcore has wrestled some guys that
Hardcore and I, while we are on different paths, we've had quite a similar journey. We've started from nothing. We've started in the yard. We worked our way through, and we're just trying to make it now. You know, all respect to Hardcore. I can't wait to see what he does in 2024. I'm sure we're going to cross paths another time. And you know what? I'll always wrestle Hardcore. I'll always have a beautiful bloody spot in my heart to work him any day of the week. But he also has to step up his game because every time he's faced me, the last 3 times we've wrestled, I've beat him. He's stepped up to me, but he's always been put down.
Let me ask you a question, though, on TF Crews. We're speaking here for a little while longer with the one and only Mikey Anarchy, who's the UWF Underground Champion, the GTS Intercontinental Champion. There are some more comments. I'll get to everybody in a second. I'm getting more comments, and I will let people talk in a minute. But, you know, I find it interesting that going into the 27th of January, right, you're actually probably going to have a vested interest on this card on Saturday with 2 particular matches. Obviously, Santiago and Obey for the YouTube title, and then the death match between Controversy and Hardcore. So almost conversely, as I asked you about Obey and Santiago, maybe you are rooting for Hardcore in this case because
absolutely.
So go ahead, tell me why. Because you read my mind.
That goes without question. Again, at the end of the day, I know what Hardcore is capable of. I know he's constantly growing. I know Hardcore, he is ambitious. He doesn't limit himself. He constantly wants to fight. He's like me in that regard. We both have such a love and admiration for the art form of deathmatch wrestling. And we're not just clout chasers like Jimmy. Hardcore is one of those guys where, he may not be the most winningest of guys in the world, but he definitely is the most passionate out of a lot of guys I've ever seen. Jimmy's not one of those guys. And I honestly think that Hardcore, he may, like I said, he may not be the most winningest guy in the world, but because of how passionate he is, and I know he's learned from wrestling me. I know he's learned from the guys he's been around. He's learned from XPW. He's learned being in Theater of Brutality. He's learned from going to California.
Hardcore wrestle. Listen, who's the biggest man he's wrestled? Madman Pondo. I mean, he's wrestled him.
It'd be Pondo. And Pondo,
think about
Pondo's respect.
But you wrestled Pondo, right? And you wrestled him.
I love to wrestle Pondo.
And that's literally a guy that broke through the doors of hardcore deathmatch wrestling and went out there and he made it. I mean, he wrestled him. You could say whatever you want about that match.
Deathmatch champion.
Yeah, listen.
Pondo is still going strong.
And
That's
he's in
Japan.
Japan.
I want to wrestle.
But the point is that, you know what? You can say whatever you want about that match. He wrestled him. So obviously, Hardcore can definitely put his own weight in things, and he's had success. I don't think it matters wins and losses with him. So in a way, what I was going to say before I get to more comments here is the fact that, in a way, Hardcore is going to do you a huge favor, I think. He's gonna weaken up Jimmy. Because Controversy now all of a sudden, he claims he's gonna put Hardcore through an insurrection, but Hardcore was here with us, and he talked about the fact that Controversy has no idea what he's getting into, and that he's using everything Controversy said about him as motivation, And no matter what happens, it's going to be a death match, and Controversy is going to be, broken, beaten, and scarred. And it's going to be, at the end of the day, no matter about this fourth participant in Resurrection's lockdown cage of hell match you're going to be in, Controversy is going to be wounded.
Exactly.
Okay.
Jimmy doesn't scurry away. He's a rat that keeps on going. He's too much of a hungry little prey that doesn't realize you're not going to get any sort of food by scrounging around like the bitch you are, Jimmy. But you know what? That's cool. Hardcore can handle my light work. Give me the scraps when he tries to show up to Resurrection Pro. If he even shows up to Resurrection Pro at this point. I don't think Jimmy's got the balls.
Well, you asked him about putting that title up, and he didn't want to do that. You both asked, and we were here a couple weeks ago, and he said no.
Fine by me. I'm going to get my Uncivilized Championship back one way or another. Doesn't matter if it's Resurrection Pro, if it's Pro Wrestling Venom, it could be TF Crew for all I care. But right now, I'm more worried. Oh, he's a bitch. He's the biggest set of pussy lips this side of the Mississippi.
Maybe it's those porn stars he's been hanging around, huh?
Clearly, he rubbed off on those pussy lips.
All right, well, let me get to a few more comments. Mac 10 wants to say that's rape about what's going to happen to him, I imagine, with Controversy. That's Mac 10's opinion, not mine. Want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Michael Blackheart, whose father-in-law is a senior official in XCW, Festus Davis. Festus is going to have his retirement match coming up very soon, and Michael was with me on the show on New Year's Eve, and thank you, Michael, for doing well. Want to say hello to the Nemesis James Taylor, who has his own show, the Nemesis Sessions. He's got 100,000 subscribers between TikTok and YouTube. So, James Taylor, if you're looking to do a show, maybe get in touch with Mikey Anarchy and follow him on Anarchy UWF666 on Instagram and Twitter. How you doing, Mr. Taylor? And also, Mr. Tibbs, see, Mikey, you a real one. You said that everyone is too scared to say. That's basically what he's saying. You're a real one, and we definitely agree with you on that. So, obviously, coming toward the end of the show, I want to ask you a few things. First, as I ask everybody throughout the year on Sportswire Radio for the next few weeks still, what's your goals for 2024?
Easy. More championships and to get in a bigger role. Hell, I got 3 places that I want to step foot in this year.
Tell me.
XPW, H2O, GCW. I want to get to the best and the top of the deathmatch world. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. XPW is coming to Newark, New Jersey, February 24th.
Ooh.
Who knows? Obey is there. You never know who else might show up.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to leave that there because I got my own things to cover where you're going to be in, especially January the 27th, Resurrection Pro Wrestling. I'll certainly see where we cross that bridge after what we see between yourself, Controversy, Mac 10, and a 4th participant to be named later, and also your match coming up in a hardcore horse fight with Mr. Brax himself, BRAXX. And I want everybody one more time. I'm going to pull it up here one more time on the screen. You can see the match here one more time. It's going to be Mikey Anarchy versus Brax in a hardcore horse fight coming up this Saturday at the North Haven Massacre. So certainly be there. Go to TF Crew 69 on YouTube, Instagram, and TF Crew for more information. I want to ask you, as I ask a lot of people like yourself who've been in this sport and have had a lot of success throughout your career. I know it's been a short career, but you've had a lot of success and you've been on the main stream stage, and there's nobody that can ever take that away from you. I certainly wouldn't. I would be glad to promote you anytime. Is there 1 or 2 moments that stand out most in your career so far?
Oh, God. Too many. Way too many. Honestly, the whole thing. Because I genuinely pro wrestling is one of those things that when I was down and out as a kid, I could turn to Pro Wrestling Venom. It was consistent. Or not Venom. Jesus Christ, not Pro Wrestling Venom. Oh, God.
I was going to say, I was like, wait a minute.
No, God, no. Pro Wrestling.
I don't think Jimmy's been there that long. I was like, Jimmy's been there that long? Not that I know.
No. And just the fact that I've been lucky to not only live my dream, but to now take that dream and turn it into a reality. Hell, man, like UWF alone, I got to win multiple championships, to travel to different states, wrestle guys like JJ Escobar and fucking Obey and Jimmy Controversy and Hardcore, Danny Darko, that Kyle. Hell, I've won 2 death match tournaments. And if I can flip my camera around, because I have no clue how to do that. No, I don't. I can't show that. But boom,
well, I
2
do that.
Uncivilized Cup trophies right here that I keep on display. These are constant reminders that, hey, kid, looking when I was 16, 17, saying, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Here I am now at 23 years old, still in the prime of my life, and I'm
You haven't
living
even
the
touched your
dream.
prime yet. 23, you're actually
Exactly.
not in your prime. Listen,
I know.
you're going to be, you got 20, 30 years easily left in your career. Listen.
I hope, man. I really do, because, guys like me, kids that grew up watching this shit, people don't take the time out of their lives to live their passion and to find what they truly want in their life.
It's funny you
I
said that
never
because
stopped.
one of my, I mean, I'm obviously doing this now and we've certainly had success, but if I would have done things differently in my life, maybe I would have, gone out and maybe did the wrestling route. I took a different path in life to get
Yeah.
here. But, growing up, I wasn't the right time. It was different things. But, the fact that you've been able to do it and have the success at an early age, it does bode well for you in the fact that, I'll ask you this question, when I asked it to you about 1 or 2 moments in 2 years from now, I could see you being in GCW. I could see you being, in different places more often. I think that's why if I get you now, if I don't do it, I'll never get you again because I think you're going to go
Yes,
and have.
you will. I will always make time for the guys that started with me from when I would consider the bottom. I'll always
Well,
support those who support me.
I think I'll make you chuckle. I think counting Dean Allmark on my resume does at least give me a little bit
No,
of
it
an edge.
does. It
And
100%
Davey
does.
Blaze. I've got Davey Blaze.
Listen,
Yep.
you're interviewing guys of the past, the present, and the future. You're doing your grind. That's a thing I will always respect and I
Well,
will
we're
always
actually
admire,
in this
man.
same amount of time. You said 5 years. I'm 5 years, January 25th. And I started on Skype calls, muffled cell phone conversations,
Wow.
SoundCloud, to where I'm on an internet radio station. We're on all these different platforms. So I could totally, dig everything you're doing. I want to ask you a couple more questions about TF Crew Resurrection. Just final thoughts, tie a bow on that. But I wasn't going to ask you this question, but I kind of feel motivated to because
Do it. Go
we
for it.
obviously
There are no holds barred.
I got it because I'm going to do it because I know I'm going to get a reaction off this. So obviously, we've started this thing called the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Dean Allmark's a part of it. This guy, RP Davis, the natural born fighter, the first ever person from Britain who won a boxing championship, turned over to win a UK championship, wrestled Anthony Agogo. We've got all these different people that are in this Hall of Fame. And I was wondering, I know you're Mikey Anarchy. I know you're a busy man. I know you're the GTS champion, the UWF champion. I'm going to see you on January 6th, January the 27th. But you know what? I feel like after looking at your body of work, getting a chance to know you, I was wondering, especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, if you ever thought about or had some interest one day, would you like to ever be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Come on. Come on, absolutely.
Well, what we are doing, by the way, we are giving certificates. I do a big speech. I actually do a press release. I do a big write-up. So you actually get to it. It's not like the WWE Hall of Fame where they actually don't have anything. We actually give out certificates. We do a speech. We do a statement. I mean, some guys that are in it already, like Justin Parsley and Josh Fletcher of XCW, they've asked, well, are we getting rings? Are we getting jackets? I'm like, well, certificates first. We have them made up, so we'll definitely, get that in. But I'd like to, obviously, after all this stuff gets done, maybe, when you come back on in a couple of months, we could have that ceremony to induct. I do a 3 or 4 minute speech. And I think it'd be, obviously my honor to do it. I definitely think that you're definitely qualified. I think the body of work speaks for itself. And I definitely think that, you're an up and coming guy. And, real quick, guys that I do know also that I'd love to see you wrestle one day. You look very similar to a guy, Vito Fratelli. Vito Fratelli wrestled Alexander Hammerstone, who was the MLW champion. He's a big guy in Mexico. You spoke about Vader and Stan Hansen. He's very much a Vader, Stan Hansen guy. And I've interviewed him 3 times, actually. 3 times I've interviewed him. I'd love to see you wrestle. He's out of California for the Wrestling War Zone. My friend Darrow Johnson's a promoter out there. That'll be another guy one day I would personally love to see him. Davey Blaze would be, oh my God, Davey Blaze and you would be like, oh my God, what a match. Davey Blaze, another guy in the UK that we're friends with. And also a guy that I'm wearing a shirt of right now, the Big Cheese Logan from Cullery Community Wrestling. He was actually in the Army, I think it was, years ago. He became a shoot fighter. And now he's this larger-than-life tribal chief who we acknowledge. And I would love to say one day, if it ever can happen, you've been to the UK already. So, Mr. Barris, if you're listening to this, I would love to see Mikey Anarchy in the tribal cheese and CCW because he's obviously been there. We can make that happen. Just saying, you can do whatever you want with that. But that would definitely be my little treat. I would hope that the tribal cheese and you go out there and square up. Maybe something will happen. But as we get to closing thoughts, I want to ask you two more final questions. First is, what is your final words to Brax before the Hardcore Haas fight on the 6th of January?
Actually, I'm not going to say any more words because you know what? Talk is cheap.
Okay. Then my last
question.
Even though I think I might see you before the 27th, but I'm going to say for now, tentatively, what is your final words? Although it'll never be final words with you and Jimmy Controversy, but your final words to, there you go. Your final words to Jimmy Controversy, Mac 10, and this mystery fourth participant to be named later, Lockdown Cage of Hell.
Again, Jimmy's a non-factor at this point. It's really just me and Mac 10 and whoever this fourth person is. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll believe it when I see it. Simple as this. I've got everything to prove. Mac 10, established name down there.
Very respected. Yep.
Very, very respect his work. I respect him as a person, as a wrestler. However, that all goes out the window the second the bell rings, the second the cage locks. Because quite frankly, at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I have to do to secure the win, to get my legacy going, and to be asked back at Resurrection Pro Wrestling. And not only that, but then around the world, because you never know. I may show up Carnage Cup, may end up GCW, H2O. You never know. And that's the beautiful thing about this journey. Mac 10, he ended up in Carnage Cup, and at one point I was supposed to be in that same Carnage Cup, and unfortunately things didn't work out, but that's why there's always next year. So I'm going to throw, not a final word, but I'm going to throw out more of a, not a prediction, as someone named Paul Heyman would say, a spoiler.
I knew you were going there with
because
that.
At the end of the day, on January 26th, in the Cage of Hell death match, doesn't matter if it's not my territory, I'm going to turn Tennessee into Philadelphia when I take Mr. Mac 10 and I take Jimmy Controversy and his stupid piece of garbage body and I drag it across that Cage of Hell. There's one man that is going to have his hand held, and it's going to be the one who you say defies pro wrestling, that causes more anarchy than war, me, Mikey fucking Anarchy.
Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited about the future. I'm very excited about a couple of different shows that we are going to see our guest tonight at, and especially on the 27th of January, Resurrection Pro Wrestling Show, Lockdown. You're going to see our guest tonight, the man that defies pro wrestling, the man that brings more anarchy than war, the reigning defending GTS Intercontinental Champion, the UWF Underground Champion of the world. His name is Mikey Anarchy. He's going to be in that Cage of Hell match against Mac 10, Jimmy Controversy, and a fourth participant to be named later. And we're going to see him here this weekend. The first show of the year, his first match of the year, the Hardcore Haas fight against Brax for the TF Crew North Haven Massacre, their first ever live indoor event. If you want to support both Resurrection Pro Wrestling and TF Crew, very simple, on YouTube at TF Crew 69, Instagram TF Crew. I want to thank Gabe Sayers for this opportunity. Also, Joseph Tibbs, Mr. Tibbs, for putting the icing on the cake and giving us the reference here. It was good to have Gabe, but then Mr. Tibbs kind of putting the icing on the cake to bring you on. Definitely helps. You can follow Resurrection Wrestling on Instagram, Resurrection Pro Wrestling, YouTube, Resurrection Wrestling, TikTok, Resurrection Wrestling. You can watch this show on the 27th of January. I'll be there watching it on my phone. And also, if you want to buy some merchandise, I'm going to be doing that later this week. Redbubble.com, /people, /Resurrection Pro. We always want to support those that support us. And I cannot thank enough Resurrection Wrestling for all the great things they're doing, TF Crew for all the great things they're doing, and especially great people like Mr. Mikey Anarchy, who's going to be, the next time he comes on the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, whatever that might be. He's a very, very busy man. But I know one thing, this guy is going to be going places. And one day I'm going to see this guy in the PWI 500, very much similar to my friend Vito Fratelli. Listen, say nothing on this. Vito Fratelli, right? I had him on 3 times. And I told him the first time that I got him right before he wrestled Hammerstone. He had like 5 championships. You have 2. He had 5. And I told him, I said, mark my words, you're going to be on the PWI 500. I asked him the question the second time. He's like, well, that could be good. But I got him on the next time. He made, I think, number 399. He goes, you know what? You were right, and I made it. So, you know what? I got a feeling with you, with what you're doing, you're going to definitely make it. I got a good feeling about that. And also, Mac 10 wants to clarify. He was talking about Jimmy's porn stars. That's here nor there. I'm going to move away from that because I don't want to get further canceled. I'm saying nothing on that. I'm going to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, champ, the floor is yours. Fire away.
You plugged everything. I'm just going to be a little more inspirational to end this off, honestly.
Please do, because I don't want to talk about what happened.
No. We're going to end this off on a very nice, positive note, as the opposite of, someone like me would normally do. Honestly, I started doing this shit when I was 17 years old. I'm 23 now. I'm living the time of my life.
Amen.
And I wake up every single day and I thank, my blessings, and I thank whatever you want to believe in. There may be a God. If to you,
who knows, right?
Personally,
who knows?
Personally,
sure.
I'm just glad that I've been able to do what I want to do, and I've been able to do it my way.
Sure.
I've never been, cut from a cloth or molded after, a god, because
right. Absolutely. Totally. Everybody. Yep.
But, just, your life matters if you feel like it doesn't. There are days where I'm like, fuck, why do I keep doing this? And then I look at this, I look at this, and I look at my back, and I think, you did that, kid. You did that. And if you can do it, anybody can do it. So go and live your best life. Go get that passion. Go do what you want. You have one life, live it. And that's all I have to say.
That's it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you only get one shot. Make that shot worthwhile. Make it your own. This man has done that and some. Ladies and gentlemen, think about what this man has done. He is a champion right now in a promotion that is the 7th most viewed, let me repeat, in the entire world, ahead of places like Lucha Libre, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and even some company that this guy who's a billionaire named Tony Khan runs called Ring of Honor, and another company that's been around for 20 years and was started by some Paul Heyman disciple from Westchester County named Court Bauer, who worked very briefly in a company called ECW. This man is a champion of a company that was viewed, get this, over 1 million times. This man has made it. This man's only going to do bigger and better things ahead. That's why I want people to follow him one more time. Anarchy UWF 666 Instagram, Twitter. You can find him on Pro Wrestling Venom, UWF, GTS, and especially TF Cruz, North Haven Massacre, their first ever live indoor event, January 6th, and 3 weeks right after that at our friends Resurrection Wrestling Lockdown Show. He'll be wrestling Jimmy Controversy, Mac 10, and a 4th participant to be named later. My friend, it has been an absolute honor to have you. I know you've done this before, so I'm happy that I got a chance to get you now, and thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. Happy New Year to you. Congratulations on all the success. I hope you get back that uncivilized title. We'll certainly see. I hope you also get to see you in the ring coming up on the 6th, and I can't wait to actually watch you in real time on the 27th, and obviously check you out on Venom, GTS, UWF, and thank you for all you do for us, and I look forward to inducting you formally into our Hall of Fame soon, and thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was none other than Mr. Mikey Anarchy. We're going to see coming up here, as I stated one more time, on January 6th, this Saturday, less than 100 hours away from now, against Brax in a hardcore Haas fight here at the TF Cruz North Haven Massacre, their first ever live indoor event. Then January 27th, Resurrection Pro Wrestling's Lockdown in a 4-way match now, Cage of Hell, between his all-time nemesis, Jimmy Controversy, also Mac 10, and a fourth participant to be named later. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, and where all wrestling matters here, and the voice of wrestling. And again, on Sportswire Radio, if you're on us at sportswireradio.org, our internet radio station, you're going back to your regularly scheduled programming in a little while. If you're on YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn, because I actually put this on my business account because I want my knucklehead friends in business to see who I interviewed tonight. Yes, I definitely want you to see it. We'll be back Thursday for a doubleheader, 7 o'clock, Aaron Jones, VTW World Champion, 9:30 from Unholy, DJ Wolbert. You will not want to miss any of those. Until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. And thank you again to Gabe Sayers and Joseph Tibbs of the TF Crew Resurrection Wrestling for this opportunity and to cover their great platforms.